I talk about burnout a lot on this channel, but now I'm going to say something that might surprise you. I want you to stop calling it burnout. What you're experiencing isn't just exhaustion that a vacation or a meditation app can fix. What's happening to women physicians across America is something much deeper and far more damaging, and almost no one is addressing the real problem. I'm Dr. Ben from The Developing Doctor, and today I'm going to reveal why the burnout narrative is actually minimizing what high-achieving women physicians are truly experiencing. By the end of this video, you'll understand the profound difference between burnout and what's really happening, and why this distinction is crucial for your well-being and career. I'll also share 3 anonymous stories from women physicians that will likely sound painfully familiar, including one doctor whose realization completely transformed her relationship with medicine. But first, let's talk about the dangerous myth that's keeping talented women physicians trapped. Here's why the burnout narrative is such a problematic issue. When we call what women physicians are experiencing simply burnout, we're suggesting that the problem is individual weakness, that you can't handle the pressure, that if you just had more resilience, better boundaries, or took more yoga, you'd be fine. Let me ask you this. When you're forced to see 25 patients in a day with inadequate support, when your medical decisions are questioned because of your gender, when you're interrupted in meetings while your male colleagues are not, when patients call you nurse or ma'am, despite your white coat and credentials, is that really your failure of resistance? I don't think so. What high-achieving women physicians are experiencing isn't burnout. It's moral injury and it's identity fragmentation. Moral injury occurs when you're repeatedly forced to act against your values or witness situations that violate your moral code without the power to change them. Identity fragmentation happens when your physician identity that you spent decades building is systematically undermined and fractured. Does any of this resonate with you? Drop a heart in the comments if you felt this distinction between burnout and something deeper. I read every comment and I want to hear your experiences and learn from them. So now let me share 3 anonymous stories from women physicians that illustrate this distinction. Their experiences, I suspect, will sound familiar to many of you. First is Dr. A. She's a cardiologist who repeatedly witnessed her female patients' heart attack symptoms being dismissed. When she advocated for them, she was labeled as emotional, overreacting, or difficult. Her chair suggested that she tone it down during a performance review. Over time, she stopped speaking up, despite knowing that patients were receiving substandard care. Her feelings at this point weren't just exhaustion, they were profound moral distress at being forced to participate in a system that harmed the very people she'd sworn to protect. Dr. B is a surgeon who found herself constantly juggling her surgical schedule with family responsibilities. When her child was sick, a colleague commented, "This is why women shouldn't be surgeons." After years of proving herself, that single comment erased her accomplishments. What she felt wasn't burnout. It was a fragmentation of her identity as a dedicated surgeon and a mother, forced into an impossible choice by a system that deemed these identities incompatible. Finally, Dr. C is a primary care physician who is lauded for her empathic approach and patient satisfaction scores. Yet her productivity was measured by patient volume, not by quality of care. Her institution implemented wellness rounds, offering pizza and meditation apps, while simultaneously increasing her patient load. The message was clear. Her compassionate care style that was valued in theory, but it was punished in practice. What she experienced wasn't burnout from working too hard. It was the profound disconnection between her values and how she wanted to practice and the system's priorities. In a moment, I'll share what Dr. C realized that transformed her relationship with medicine completely. But first, let's examine the unique stressors that high-achieving women physicians face that go far beyond workload. Let's break these down. First, there's the well-documented gender bias that exists in medicine and in society. Studies show that women physicians are interrupted more frequently, have their clinical decisions questioned more often, and receive lower patient satisfaction scores when they don't fulfill gender expectations of warmth, regardless of clinical excellence. Second is the disproportionate amount of emotional labor that is placed on women physicians, are expected to be the emotional stewards of their teams and patients. They're assigned more complex patients with psychosocial needs, expected to comfort distressed colleagues, and tasked with smoothing things over in conflicts. All invisible work that takes a lot of time and goes unrecognized and unrewarded. Third is what researchers call the motherhood penalty. Women physicians with children face assumptions about their commitment and availability that fathers simply don't encounter. One study, for example, found that mother physicians earn 66 cents on the dollar compared to father physicians, a gap that can't be explained by hours worked or productivity. And fourth is perhaps the most insidious. The internalization of all these external messages. High-achieving women physicians often respond to these barriers by working harder, taking on more, and blaming themselves when the system fails them. All of this creates a vicious cycle of perfectionism, self-doubt, and eventual moral injury. In short, it's sort of an amplification of the physician mindset that's often misdiagnosed as burnout. Let's circle back to Dr. C. Remember, she was the primary care physician whose compassionate style was simultaneously praised and punished. Here's what transformed her relationship with medicine. With a little bit of coaching, Dr. C realized something profound. The problem wasn't her. The problem was the system that claimed to value certain qualities while structurally penalizing them. Once she recognized that this wasn't her personal failure but a systemic contradiction, she stopped internalizing the blame. This realization allowed her to make intentional choices rather than reactive ones. She found a practice setting that truly aligned with her values of comprehensive care. She became selective about which battles to fight and which institutional demands to challenge. Most importantly, she stopped seeing her sensitivity to moral injury as a weakness and recognized it as evidence of her intact moral compass and saw it as a strength. This transformation didn't come from more resilience training or self-care. It came from recognizing the true nature of what she was experiencing, connecting with others facing similar challenges, and making structural changes that honored her values while also protecting her well-being. So, if typical burnout interventions aren't the answer for women physicians experiencing moral injury and identity fragmentation, what is? Based on both research and our work with women physicians, we've developed a framework that addresses these deeper issues. First is validating and accurate naming. When we correctly identify moral injury and identity fragmentation, we remove self-blame and isolation. This isn't about a lack of resilience, it's about legitimate responses to harmful systems. Second is community and collective action. The antidote to moral injury isn't individual resilience. It's connection with others experiencing similar challenges and collective efforts to change harmful conditions. Third is value-aligned practice. This means making intentional choices about practice settings, patient populations, and professional boundaries that honor your core values as a physician and human being. And fourth is structural advocacy. While individual strategies help us survive, only systemic change will solve these problems. This means strategically advocating for policies and practices that recognize and reward the complete spectrum of physician work. So if you've been calling what you're experiencing burnout, but sensing it's something deeper, you're right. The moral injury and identity fragmentation facing women physicians requires more sophisticated, holistic approaches than wellness programs can provide. At The Developing Doctor, we understand these deeper issues. We're committed to helping women physicians navigate these challenges through community, coaching, and advocacy that addresses the root causes, not just the symptoms. If this perspective resonates with you, I invite you to subscribe to this channel and check out our resources in the description below. What resonated most with you in this video? Share your thoughts in the comments, and remember, what you're experiencing isn't a personal failure. It's a legitimate response to contradictory demands and systemic challenges. You are not alone, and there is a path forward. We're here to help. This is Dr. Ben with The Developing Doctor.